What's up, y'all? I am back for another video. I just was I wanted to do this earlier, but shit happened, so I just had to do it now. But we are continuing on with the Ghostbusters trilogy. We are on Ghostbusters 2. Before I get into that, tomorrow I'll be doing Afterlife. I'll probably try to do that during the day just to get it out the way. But yeah, it'll be during the day tomorrow. And then Sunday, I will finally rip that new Texas Chainsaw new one because, oh my god, that movie's fucking bad. But I'll go into that on Sunday. So that, and then Monday is actually going to be my first, not really a first, because I've technically kind of done these videos, but I'm going to do a Michael versus Jason kind, because I have like an idea in my head of what I want to do. So I was just like, fuck it, I'll, on Monday, do that, and we'll do the Jet Li movie, the Jackie Chan movie. I'll do that sometime later this week. But so that's the plan so far. But besides all that, Ghostbusters 2. This movie came out 5 years later in 1989, and this one is one that often it's mixed because there are people who like it, like I do. I like it, but it definitely has problems. I think right from the rip, my main problem is the villain. I just think he's kind of boring. Vigo, I think is the villain's name. Just didn't do it for me. And another criticism I have seen, I can agree with it, but I don't necessarily see it as fully a criticism because if I attack this movie, then, the criticism is that some people have said it's just a retread of the first, like it's even kind of paced the same, but instead of going after Dana, they're going after her baby. The team starts off kind of small, but then they become famous again. But I don't necessarily think it's fully a straight up rip off it, a retread. And the thing is, if I attacked this movie, I would be hypocritical. I mean, Friday the 13th. I'm one of the biggest Friday the 13th fans, and you could easily argue the same with those movies. That a lot of the sequels are just kind of retreads of whatever came before. Group of kids, camp. It's just, like, I don't necessarily think it's fully a retread. I think there's definitely some original things, and my main issue is just the villain. Not interesting. Like even like Zool and Zool and Gozer from the first one was interesting, like, and was throughout the film. Whereas this villain was a painting, and we only saw him in his form in like the end of the movie. Yeah, you see him like can hypnotize people and shit. You see him like shoot shit out of his eyes when he's in the painting, but aside from that, he's weak to me. But I still like the movie. I think the dynamic between the team is still there. Vinkman, Egon, Ray, and Winston are fucking great still. Like, they're all great together. Janine is great. Lewis is great. It's cool. I'm happy they brought Rick Moranis back. Kind of almost made him like the fifth Ghostbuster. But I still think it's a good movie. It's like, if I were to I gave the first one like a 10, I'd give this one like a 7.5. Because I still think it has that Ghostbuster spirit. Not a fan of them really changing the theme. Though it is cool they do play the original Ghostbusters song at the beginning, and then they play it in the credits. So, but basically the story is 5 years after, the events of the first one. The team are kind of separated because they've been sued for property damage, and they basically were forced out of business. So, Dana, another aspect I'll admit I really didn't like was them breaking up Dana and Peter. There was no reason to do that. It just almost felt like they did it just so they can kind of bring them back together. And this one, it wasn't needed. In general, like, I didn't like it when Jurassic Park 3 did it, where you have a character who in the first movie or a previous movie are established as a couple, and then they just randomly are broken up all of a sudden. It's lazy. It's almost done just so they can bring them back together. You don't need to do that. If you're going to do that down the line. Don't do it in the second movie. But aside from that, I still like their dynamic, and it was cool seeing Dana actually be a character in this. Don't get me wrong, I like her being possessed by Zool in the first, but it is cool to see her do more stuff. But so they are brought together because Vigo wants um, Dana's baby, because it's like his way to become. It's almost like Chucky, so he can become a whole person again. But that's mainly the movie. So after all that, let's kick off the review. So the film opens up. We kind of, we get the title card again, but we see Winston and Ray are actually forced. Ray owns Ray owns a bookstore, while Egon is doing not experiments. He works in a lab. He is doing experiments. He's trying to experiment with human emotions. And Venkman has a show called a television show about psychics. I don't remember the name, but but we do see Winston and Ray do a party for kids as the Ghostbusters. Dana, while out with her baby, her baby gets possessed. Her baby who's in a stroller ends up getting pretty much taken by a ghost and driven around town. So she has to go to the Ghostbusters, but she tries to initially just go to Ray and Egon. We see a scene of what Venkman is doing. Has a kind of, Bill Murray's still great. It's like that's why I ultimately still love it, is the dynamic of the team. Like, I think that's why it's good, and it does what a sequel does. It like I said, it has its problems. It's not as strong as the first, but I think it continues the story fine. So the team is brought together. Then we get a scene where Vigo, he's just kind of a boring villain, possesses Dana's boss, because Dana now works at a museum. Possesses Dana's boss and makes him like a vessel for him. Sorry about that. Vigo chooses once Dana's baby Oscar. So then we get this scene where the team are on a trial. We get a funny scene where Venkman's being questioned by the prosecutor. And then the judge, played by I don't remember his name, but he's a dude. He's in like a lot of movies. The judge, but while they're in trial, on the table they have this ooze, which is actually ghosts break out. Well, before that, we get a scene where the team investigates Dana's house. After the event, they end up finding in an intersection and discover slime. They store the slime, and then that said slime in the god fucking damn it. Sorry, fucking helicopters. So while during trial, which I'll admit this scene was funny, and I don't think it dragged on or anything. It went on for like 5 or so minutes. Then while the judge was going on a giant diatribe, the cup explodes with the ooze, and then a bunch of ghosts break out. And this is where we get the team back together, and they get all their equipment, capture the ghosts, and then they basically get back in business. And at least they kept the song, like the actual Ghostbusters theme, throughout the film, which I'll give them. Yeah, they do play, like, the main theme, in a sense, though, still for the new movie, is On Our Own by Bobby Brown, which, don't get me wrong, it's a fucking good song. But it just, to me, that main theme is, their main theme is that original song. So it's cool that they still have it. So after capturing the ghosts, and this is where I think people are kind of saying it's a retread, because even like kind of like in the first one when they first become famous, you have the scenes where they're on the news, they're selling merchandise, they have a commercial and stuff like that, which like I can see that, but I don't think it's straight up, like it doesn't feel like, because one, Winston's there from the beginning, and I think they still did it on enough to where it was its own thing. It didn't feel like I was just watching the first all over again. And like I said, I'd be a hypocrite, because you can almost say that about any really slasher franchise, to be honest. Like, especially like Friday the 13th, So they, they become famous again. Then we get a scene where, Dana is at her apartment, on like cleaning Oscar, about to get him in the bath. Then a bunch of pink slime try to attack her and Oscar. She ends up going to stay at Vinkman's for a few days, and I don't like that they broke them up. Maybe it's something I've noticed more now, or actually no, I noticed this when I first rewatched it. It's just there was no need. It was almost just done so they can let's have them rekindle again. And I think that's often why they do that. Just so they can write them rekindling. And it's like, maybe that's fine for something. There was no reason to do it here. They set it up so perfectly in the first one, and then, they're broken up again. They're broken up. It's like, why? And then she ends up getting married and has a kid with someone. I don't know. I didn't think it was needed. That aspect was not needed. It doesn't ruin the movie or anything. It's one of those, wasn't needed. So she ends up staying at Pinkman's, and then he asks her out on a date. She agrees, so she has Janine, who's the fucking secretary. I don't know why I forgot that. Yeah, she was a fucking secretary, who takes calls and stuff. So I think Janine's a great character. Even though she's like a side character, she's not a main character or anything. So her and Lewis, which they kind of start having them have a thing, babysit Oscar while Vinkman and Dana are out. And then we get a scene where Ray, Winston, and Egon are in the sewer they find the pink slime, but then they end up getting pulled in. And then this is where they realize, there's a scene where they kind of fight, because the pink slime makes them uber aggressive, because it brings out their aggressive side. And then we get a scene where they try to tell the mayor, but the mayor doesn't believe them. And then when his assistant Jack has them committed, because they threatened to go to the press, so his assistant Jack, who I don't know the actor's name, but I only recognize him from the first Scary Movie. He was the sheriff, but he has the Ghostbusters committed, which I get it. They needed to have them out. They even kind of did this in the first one a bit, where they got arrested. So but I don't think that part wasn't needed. I would have rather them just have them let's have them just go, but whatever. So then the goo gets worse, and it starts bringing out everybody's negativity, to where now the mayor looks bad. Then this is where his assistant tells them, I had them committed. He fires them, gets the Ghostbusters out, and this is pretty much the final fight, really, from here, which was fine. It was not as good as the first one, but I do think the final fight was serviceable. They show up, they have to go through this wall of slime, so what they have to do is, because they need positive emotions to get in, they makeshift the Statue of Liberty, which this was a fun scene, and walk through and smash through. So they end up getting in. They take out the assistant, the Dana's boss. I forgot his name. Sorry, but take up Dana's boss and save Dana and Oscar. But then Vigo shows up in his real form, and I just he didn't do anything. He just was in the painting, and then he possesses people. That's kind of it. There was nothing there was no what that final fight in the first one. I think why was so much better because they made that whole apartment, at least the roof anyway, where they were at. It looked unique and it looked like it was possessed and taken over. And this, it just was they're in their museum. And then Vigo comes out, tries to get the baby. He neutralizes for a second the team and has Dana tied up. But then it was about to take over the baby. Then Venkman just basically talks shit to distract. And then the crowds outside gather and start singing a song. And pretty much the positivity starts weakening Vigo and his effect. The team get unneutralized. They force him back in the painting. And then pretty much, they celebrate. Ghostbusters song kicks in, film ends. I like it. I like this movie. It has its problems. Like I said, the villain. The whole breaking up Dana and Venkman wasn't needed. But aside from those, those are my two main ones. And then I do think they definitely added up a little bit more of the slapstick compared to the first one. It's understandable. But it's still a fun movie. The dynamic between the team is still really good. And I think there's still some really good, funny moments in there. And it's cool to see familiar faces too, like the mayor and seeing Rick Moranis and having him actually be in the suit in the end was pretty cool. And I would have loved to have seen a Ghostbusters 3 when he was around, when Rick Moranis was still doing movies, because he doesn't do movies nowadays. But it is what it is, and I still liked Afterlife, which I'll be talking about tomorrow. But it's still I would have liked to have seen that Ghostbusters 3. But it was this was still good. I would give this one a 7.5. It's not as strong as the first one, but it's still a fun sequel. It does what to me, a good sequel, if you just continue the story well, or you almost or be the first one on steroids, I think that's how you make a good sequel, and I think this does that. It's cool seeing Sigourney Weaver, and like I said, there's some things I don't like, but it's not a bad movie, and I don't think it's as bad as some people make. They're up, before Shitbusters 2016 came out, a lot of people did rag on Ghostbusters too, but I'm it's fine. Like I said, the only thing I don't really like is the villain, but aside from that, this is a solid sequel, and I definitely recommended it. I mean, even because there are some people out there who didn't like Afterlife either, Ghostbusters 1 and 2 definitely work as a two-parter. It does. And if you don't like Afterlife, you can kind of end it at Ghostbusters 2 and be fine. So, but tomorrow I'll be reviewing Afterlife, which I really did like, because it has its problems. I think the middle portion is it's not great. And like I said, I don't like some of the kid characters. And some people I have seen say it doesn't have what made the first two Ghostbusters, especially the first one, great. And maybe I can agree that the kid should have been older. They maybe should have been fucking in at least 17 or 18 instead of how young they were. But it's still a solid movie. It was a solid continuation, and it definitely is what needed it. But I think it's a solid wrap up for the franchise, even though even though some say this is Ghostbusters 4 because there was the video game, but I'm not a gaming channel, so. But I definitely, for what it was, I enjoyed Ghostbusters Afterlife, so I'll be talking about that tomorrow. And yeah, but like I said, 7.5 out of 10. Ghostbusters 2 does what a sequel is supposed to do. It's not as strong, but but seeing the guys back, it has that Ghostbusters feel. Watch it. So I'm gonna cheers out and talk to y'all tomorrow. As usual, fuck Warner Brothers, fuck Disney, fuck LeBron, fuck Seth Rogen, fuck Colin Kaepernick, and fuck the Biden administration. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace.